Crown. So Miss Earth in particular, it's all about the awareness of the environment, and I'm basically an ambassador informing everyone to take care of their environment and their surroundings.
Take this moment, guys, to advocate the importance of mental health awareness, ensuring that this is something that is started to be placed in schools, in these school curriculums. Yes. Why aren't we having easy therapy access to schools, to parents, to the children? You know, that is something that we need to get some hands written about, right?
My name is Jesse McBarrow, and you are looking at Mending Minds. Tell us your Mending Mind moment.
I will say set goals.
A lot of people get so caught up in the what, they forget the why. There's this fixation of this is what I'm going to do, and they forget why. Yeah. You know, you pursue that in the first place.
First book in the Bible is a book you've probably heard of. It's called Genesis.
Genesis comes from a Hebrew word. It's pronounced reshit, and it just means beginning.
Now, there's a lot of stories from the book of Genesis, and it's easy just to pull out a specific story and try to tell you what it might mean. But we think the best way to understand this book is to look at the book as a whole and show you how the whole thing is designed.
This is another episode of Life Matters, and I am your host, Latina Mata. Give us some insight into what is Miss Earth and what is so special about this pageant.
Okay, so like many pageants, there are a purpose behind the crown. So Miss Earth in particular, it's all about the awareness of the environment, and I'm basically an ambassador informing everyone to take care of their environment and their surroundings.
Take this moment, guys, to advocate the importance of mental health awareness, ensuring that this is something that is started to be placed in schools, in these school curriculums. Yes. Why aren't we having easy therapy access to schools, to parents, to the children? You know, that is something that we need to get some hands written about, right?
Good evening, wherever you're looking at us from, Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean, or internationally. Welcome to another Sunset on Plus. Remember, view us here on weekdays at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. or reruns at 11 p.m. and 12 midday daily. So guys, I have a quote for you. It's midweek. And the quote we're starting off this afternoon with is, success only comes to those who dare to attempt. And this evening with me, I have Jevon and Jermaine. Guys, how are you all doing?
I'm great. I mean, God is good. I'm alive. Life-in' and I living.
Life-in' and I'm living. Jermaine.
I wanna be loved, not for who you think I am.
Jermaine, this is not the marketing segment for yourself. But I want to come back to this quote. Yes, very good. I want to come back to this quote. Success only comes to those who dare to attempt it. And I want to know, how are we not daring to attempt it? And what's the difference between us and people like the Ambanis? You all heard about this pre-wedding, because people are thinking that it's a wedding that occurred on the 1st and 2nd and 3rd of March. You all heard about this pre-wedding party in India by the richest Mongol in India?
And I like how you say that. You want to know the difference? That is the difference. They're rich.
But the quote says, it comes to those who dare to attempt it. So have we not dared to attempt success, to have a wedding for one of our daughters or sons and hire Rihanna at how much, Jermaine?
8 M, you know. 8 M. You can't say it out.
And it is
8M.
almost, and it's recorded to they spend so far almost 100 million.
So look, we have on screen now where the bride-to-be is walking up to her future husband and they're meeting. A 3-day party that has cost millions, Rihanna performing, and we've had some of the world's top persons attending. Bill Gates, we had Tiana Trump, we actually had some Trinidadians as well. I saw Pollard there, our famous cricketer.
Yes.
We had Nicholas Puran and one of them.
And one day Bravo was there.
Bravo was there.
Yeah,
yes.
I believe Bravo would have been there.
So
because
imagine that
Bravo
we have
is,
Trinidadians on the big stage.
But remember, Bravo is also very popular in India. He
Yes,
is well popular and well known in India.
Yeah. So this man is ridiculously rich. His family is ridiculously rich. And apparently, based on what I read, in the Indian tradition, this is a custom that when you are marrying your son or your daughter, you have to have a lavish and extravagant event. So when he married his daughter a couple of years ago, the budget then was $100 million US. And he is set to break that budget with this wedding set in July. What do you all think about that?
You say, why we dare to succeed? I want any bank to dare to give me that money. That's what I want.
And if they give you that money, you will spend it on your daughter's or your son's wedding?
No. Right? No. And this is my very politically correct answer. No. I will say as it is no.
Jermaine, you have $200 billion sitting down in the bank and your son is getting married. What's your budget for the wedding?
What's my contribution, you mean?
What's your budget for the wedding?
What's my contribution,
You have
you mean?
$200 billion US dollars in the bank.
Yes. Are you asking me what is my contribution?
However you want to interpret it.
10,000.
10,000.
Yeah.
10,000 billion? That's not a number.
10,000 TT. 10,000 TT. I contributed 10,000.
You contribute 10,000 TT, Jevon. You have 200 billion US in the bank. Your daughter is getting married. What is your contribution or budget for the wedding?
My question is, for that, I will answer you. But first of all, I'd like to know, I'm going to spend, let me say for example, right, I am worth 200 billion, which means most likely my daughter's net worth is going to be more than her husband's.
Exactly.
Right?
Listen,
you understand where I'm coming from, right?
Randolph and Jevon,
But,
we have to remember that we are men.
Right.
Now, and we have to think logical sometimes. Now, I really don't want to sound a type of way, but that will come off as, yes, that is your daughter. You would want to see your daughter happy, but you paying a next man to make your daughter happy. That is how it would probably look like to me if I offering that amount of money. But if I give in a contribution, I am contributing to the well-being of both of them, being able to help themselves at an occasion like that. I'm not getting married to my daughter.
Right.
He need to provide that
contribution. So was that the situation then a couple of years ago when he married off his daughter? Because this wedding is the son. It's Anand Ambani.
Right.
A couple of years ago it was his daughter with that $100 million budget. So do you think he was trying to buy off the husband to marry the daughter?
I mean, we're not in the situation, but from this point of view, from looking on the outside,
it seems like that.
It seems like
Here's another perspective as well.
So.
Remember, at the end of the day, if it is these guys, these billionaires, don't find a way to expense the money that they have coming in, consistently expense it, the situation is that they're going to pay exorbitant taxes. And what would you prefer to do? So pay the government, just understand me, pay the government 80 million pounds, or spend that on a wedding and expense it in some way to one of your corporations and see this lavish thing happen instead of giving it to the government of India in taxes?
No, I love the way you swing it. So this could possibly be a scheme, all in all, to save by spending. Now, if it's that avenue, then fine. Right?
Yeah.
But I understand that because even in Trinidad, I know there are other companies who sponsor. And I would know that when they sponsor, they get write-off on certain taxes.
Right.
So if this is similar to that, and it is the same scheme, I would like to use as a scheme, as to evade certain things, then, and I have the resources to do it, then fine.
So if we're talking about scheme, let's look at 3 of the most expensive things that this man owns. One of them being his mansion, and that video is going to come up on screen now. He has the most expensive mansion in the world. It's a ridiculous amount of stories high with a helipad on top. He has over 20 stories just for cars. Forbes has listed it as the most expensive mansion in the world.
Yes.
In addition, this man's phone, his wife's phone, sorry, is worth a couple $1 million. Well, because it's gold plated, it has diamonds and some kind of special stone on it and all these kind of things.
This is actually the attic room. He has rooms that is outfitted to you walking through the attic. Temperatures, everything. So you have his own attic home by him.
His house is staffed by 600 persons that work there daily. So the man is creating employment.
I mean,
in a poor country like India,
and
the man is creating employment.
I just got to go there, to be honest. And how, from the outside, knowing the status of India's economy and the amount of poor people they have, I mean, what are some of the things left to say when you see one person have all this wealth? And probably, now we don't know, I'm just saying, we don't know how much people he would have helped. We don't know that. So we can't say here, it will be unfair to him to say here that he's not helping anybody. But I mean, from the perspective of looking in, what is left to say, Jevon? What is left to say, Randolph?
Well, from what I could tell, when they had the pre-wedding party, let's remember that it's a pre-wedding party. Wedding is in July. It's a conservation area for 2,000 animals that they saved and rescued over the world. So I guess that they do have some kind of charity that they do, and they spend their money in certain ways to help people. But again, as you would have mentioned, people get write-off, but write-offs based on your earning potential is only so much. So what do you do next? Do you carry everything to the bottom line? And when you carry everything to the bottom line, you have to pay a percentage on that bottom line. In Trinidad, it's 30% on that bottom line in taxes, or do you create expenses? Understand what I'm saying? In that scenario, what do? You live lavishly.
But you made a statement too that, I mean, I like to play devil's advocate and I take no sides on stuff. As you said, you had the experience to go there, and you know, when you compare the community, you have this one man living this lavish life, right? And you would say, okay, the average individual asks what he's doing for his community. Then, you know, some people ask the question, I have worked, I have sacrificed, I have built something for myself. Who are you to tell me what I have to do or I should do with the profit? I wouldn't say monies, because profit could be money, it could be other things that I have sacrificed again, right? Who are you to tell me that I cannot live the lifestyle that I have worked hard to build? You know, so it's kind of two-sided about it, you know? So in other words, I have worked, I have built, right? Who are you to now come and tell me how I should use what I have gained? And this is what a lot of these organizations, these world bodies, right? I'll call them bodies because I don't want to pinpoint anyone, right? This is what they try to do, you know. So who will give them that right?
And on top of you have to consider the part of culture as well, because the culture of India and those Asian areas is that when it is you are getting married, you have to do this lavish event. And I'm sure you probably may have seen it in Trinidad as well to a much smaller extent, but it happens. If that's part of your culture, and I wouldn't know the etymological basis for this or the historical roots of where it would have come from, right? But in my personal opinion, I don't honestly understand the full sense, because if you're looking again, when she walked up, she wasn't thinking about Bill Gates being there or Mark Zuckerberg. She was looking at her future husband.
Exactly.
So it could have 100 people or 10. You would still be able to see her husband. And we have to consider that sometimes these things are really too extravagant and lavish, and it's basically a waste.
I mean, it's a conversation to really behold, because he had a very fair point. Who are we to say what to do with our money?
And we're going to discuss that for just a short bit when we come back after the break. Remember, guys, every day, join us here live at 6 p.m. on weekdays on Plus.
First book in the Bible is a book you've probably heard of. It's called Genesis.
Genesis comes from a Hebrew word. It's pronounced reshit, and it just means beginning.
Now, there's a lot of stories from the book of Genesis, and it's easy just to pull out a specific story and try to tell you what it might mean. But we think the best way to understand this book is to look at the book as a whole and show you how the whole thing is designed.
My name is Jesse McBarrow, and you are looking at Mending Minds. Tell us your Mending Mind moment.
I will say Sadhgu's.
A lot of people get so caught up in the what, they forget the why. There's this fixation of this is what I'm going to do, and they forget why. You pursue that in the first place.
This is another episode of Life Matters, and I am your host, Latina Mata. Give us some insight into what is Miss Earth and what is so special about this pageant.
Okay, so like many pageants, there are a purpose behind the crown. So Miss Earth in particular, it's all about the awareness of the environment, and I'm basically an ambassador informing everyone to take care of their environment and their surroundings.
Take this moment, guys, to advocate the importance of mental health awareness, ensuring that this is something that is started to be placed in schools, in these school curriculums. Why aren't we having easy therapy access to schools, to parents, to the children? That is something that we need to get some hands written about, right?
I cannot help how I feel. Out of all of us, I'm the only one who isn't married, engaged, or has a child. Besides, keep sticking that. I'll be real cool watching this while I meet you know.
Like I could use all the help, Smalley.
No, I could.
I could see that. But we all could use our help.
And we're back. And imagine us having a conversation about one of the richest weddings, the biggest spent in the history of time possibly. And 3 men are talking about that. Well, we saw it fit to correct that immediately. So joining us now to continue this conversation for a bit, we have Ruby Rai.
Hi.
And Ruby, you were telling me something just now. You are related to Ashwarya, right?
I am not related to Ashwarya. Rai is actually short for Rahina, my first name.
Okay,
so it's my AKA.
It's your AKA.
My
Okay,
AKA,
okay.
yeah.
So let's get right into it, Ruby. You are a woman. We want that perspective. You are getting married to a billionaire, the richest man in India. What kind of budget you expect him to spend on you?
Billionaire, you know, and the budget allows it, I would not mind having a big extravagant wedding. I mean, most women in a young age, you know, when they're growing up and you're looking at all these shows and all these movies and stuff, you always hope that, you know, you can have this big, amazing wedding. It's like, I think it's like conditioning, it's a social conditioning as well. And you always hope that, you know, when you see other persons doing it, you're like, you want to have that experience, that fairy tale experience, right? But as persons get older and, you know, you mature and stuff, you might come to a place that, you know, you no longer really need that.
So the budget decreases with age?
Maybe. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, right?
Right.
But in my personal opinion, of course, if I can afford a big extravagant wedding, because for my birthday, I go out. So, I mean, for my wedding, obviously, I would like to do the same, right?
So we're hoping there's some billionaire out there for you looking on right now to come and sweep you off your feet.
You never know.
So, moving on from that now, imagine if it is that wedding happened yesterday. And people who were excited to log on to Facebook or Instagram or TikTok to view this wedding couldn't. Because you all heard what happened yesterday.
Yes.
There was a big crash of the social media sites. There's actually a report I looked at about 11 o'clock. There is a site that tracks Facebook reports and that kind of thing. On that graph, there was over 250,000 reports of inability to access Facebook at between 11 and 11:10.
Yeah. It was a global outage.
Yeah.
Really and truly. And users could not access their Facebook. Even myself, I was wondering if I got hacked. I probably tried to sign into my account maybe about 10 times. I was like, nah, man, I can't be that I get hacked. Because, you know, they have certain things that you can do, which is called like two-factor authentication to ensure that you do not get your account hacked, right? So I was like, how can I have all of these measures in place and still get hacked, right? So I was a little bit confused. But there was something similar to this about 2 years ago where they had like a major hack in 2021 as well, right? Now, they've been hinting that it might be an attack as well.
Right.
All right, but of course they're going to deny such claims and say that, you know, it was just an outage and it's back. I think it was back up and running within a couple hours.
Yeah.
You know, but that really brings you to the place of wondering, is your information safe?
Correct.
Because imagine you have all your information, all your memories and all that on a social media platform, and then all of a sudden it's just gone in the blink of an eye.
Besides memories, let's
know?
get even a little deeper, because people use these platforms now for advertising.
Correct.
So you have your credit card information attached. You have your business exposed there. If that was really a hack and somebody can get now access to your credit card information, blast a boosted ad with some rubbish about your content, imagine what that could happen.
But even taking that even further, right, is that this information is also linked to your mobile phone, right? So that means they can also access your email, your private information on your mobile device and stuff through that portal.
Yeah.
So the risk is much more greater than just losing your access to your social media and stuff. It also
So you all think
puts
that
you at risk.
we going back to string and cup?
To the big Motorola phone.
Let's imagine that for a moment.
Flip phone.
If it is social media was wiped out, like that wasn't just temporary and it was purposeful. What then, Jevon? You could survive with the dynamic, no WhatsApp, no Facebook, no IG, no TikTok.
I think society in today is going to have a societal fallout for average 5 to 10 years, but eventually we'll be able to gravitate back to that.
I agree.
So we'll be old people.
But I have another theory with that. What if this was purposely done to eliminate or eradicate certain information that was being portrayed on these apps? Because remember, Facebook doesn't only own Facebook, they own Twitter. They have bought all these social media. So what about if it was purposely done because they wanted to get rid of certain information or push a certain agenda?
Yeah.
So are you saying that there is an intention behind an intention?
I'm not saying, I'm saying
There's
it
a
was a possibility.
There's a host of possibilities.
There's a host of possibilities. The thing is that people like you and I, we are not sitting in that seat to know exactly what it is went on. So.
And in addition, remember, these guys were under review very recently.
Yeah, very
They faced
Absolutely.
the U.S. court in terms of privacy issues and their responsibility to children and other persons who have effects because of what is shared on social media.
That's right.
So a lot of things could be happening in the background here that we don't even know about. But let's discuss for a while what we could do to protect ourselves. What could be done in terms of that protection, in terms of your data when it is you're using these sites and these platforms? So besides the two-factor authentication, Ruby.
So from my personal experience, right? Now, I had a situation about maybe a year ago where my credit card was hacked.
Right.
Right, and that was really because of submitting the information to online sites, right? So I would say, so now I take the precaution when I make any online purchase, so I have to submit my information. I don't save it to the site, or I don't save it to my phone. So I always have to re-enter. Of course, you feel like you have to keep doing it or whatever, but rather than losing or getting, putting yourself at risk, the best thing is to just kind of like take certain precautions when it comes to particular sites, anything that may look as though it's not official. If it does not have a security certificate, so when you go onto the website, you will see like a little lock sign.
Right.
They have HTTPS in front of it. Those are sites, if you're not seeing that, those little icons, or you're not seeing the indications of data protection and security, then you should not be ideally putting your information and saving it on those sites. Yeah, so it's really just about everybody taking their own personal responsibility and being wary and educating yourself as to how to go about using these sites and using these devices and so forth.
What I would add to that is that there's a lot of people like to search about the dark web, right? And what I would say is that whereas the dark web, it is perceived that it may avoid people from hacking you, it also forms no protection to your information. So where it protects you from people browsing, it doesn't protect your information, right? Also, what I try to do is that before I use these platforms for online payments, I look at reviews. I would ask a question instead of just purchasing stuff from these not so
looking types of
and there's in today's society, there's a lot of these platforms coming up because most people are looking to advertise online, and so sometimes you review the sites that you are searching before you decide to purchase.
That's right.
Yeah, but we also have to look at the perspective of their responsibility as well, because you can't want to have a forefront where you have a bunch of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs who are just putting their cards up there, their sensitive information to run ads through you, which leads to millions, even billions of dollars in revenue when you add up the small guys, and you don't have things put out. I don't know, was any statement put out by Facebook, by Mark Zuckerberg, anybody about the situation happened yesterday?
Representative, I believe it was Andy Stone, saying that they were working on it, and then I think Elon Musk would have made some posts as well on his some smug posts.
A smug post.
Yes.
I think Mark Zuckerberg just said we're back, guys, with a smiley face.
Yes,
where is the explanation? Right. Where is the responsibility? The same thing that they were just in court for.
Accountability, of course.
Where is the accountability? People probably had heart palpitations thinking about from this perspective. Exactly. And as your personal information. Right. Imagine somebody who's running thousands of US in ads every month, and you can't get into it.
Yeah. Because I have multiple business pages and stuff. I was wondering, what am I going to tell my clients? So what are we going to do with their information? I was in a little cycle of wondering what it could be. I mean, to my
effect, in a couple minutes, half an hour. Look at that, because it went down.
Correct. Yeah.
Just for that this small amount of time. Look at the dependency we have now, business-wise, personal-wise.
Yeah, because now, I mean, if you look at how people advertise business now, they have moved away from traditional and are now doing mostly digital advertising. So, I mean, what are they going to do? Wander and sit around a table and try to figure out how we're going to work around this? I mean, granted that we are in a time now where digital is the thing, and if with social media apps and all that, and having your data security and wanting to have protection. Obviously, if something was to go down, some other companies will come out and bring out something new. There's always going to be something new. I don't see any way we could go back to the traditional days where it's just traditional only. There's always going to be something new, especially in this age where young people are being born into it. These generations are being born into this realm of digital and technology and all of that. So we always have something to fall back on. It may take some time, as you mentioned, but.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine picking up the classified to look for a vehicle. I just say, you're at the market for a vehicle. You can imagine picking up the classified and reading through number plate, the amount of years and a contact number, no picture. Any of you can imagine that?
Or going back to going by the man and putting up for sale.
Yeah, stick it on the car, and drive around and hope somebody flag it on.
Yeah, how
much you looking fit? Let's make an exchange.
But look at even this, right? And it's something that has been pushing for a number of years. This whole metaverse scenario that they're trying to push. Right? These are the same people who have been trying to push that for, I think, is about 10 years ago. Right? I only knew about it about 5 years ago, but something has been in existence. Right? How are we to be ensured that if it is we basically put our lives into that? Because basically that's what you're doing. You're putting your life, you're putting your trust into this. Right? How would I know that all my earnings, everything I've worked at a blink could be taken away?
Especially now when we have people dealing with digital currency.
Correct.
You know.
And that is what the metaverse, and it's one of the things that the metaverse is actually pushing.
So look at that. So that's maybe why the US government had foresight in bringing these persons and starting to hold them accountable. And we probably need to have a UN and national conversation about the laws that we're going to put in place for these organizations and how they're going to be held accountable.
Do you think
we're going to talk about that when we come back from the break. So guys, remember we're on weekdays at 6 p.m. Monday to Friday. Join us 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, the recap at 11 and midday each day. We'll see you in just a bit.
This is another episode of Life Matters, and I am your host, Latina Mata. Give us some insight into what is Miss Earth and what is so special about this pageant.
Okay, so like many pageants, there are a purpose behind the crown. So Miss Earth in particular, it's all about the awareness of the environment, and I'm basically an ambassador informing everyone to take care of their environment and their surroundings.
Take this moment, guys, to advocate the importance of mental health awareness, ensuring that this is something that is started to be placed in schools, in these school curriculums. Why aren't we having easy therapy access to schools, to parents, to the children? You know, that is something that we need to get some hands written about, right?
First book in the Bible is a book you've probably heard of. It's called Genesis.
Genesis comes from a Hebrew word. It's pronounced reshit, and it just means beginning.
Now, there's a lot of stories from the book of Genesis, and it's easy just to pull out a specific story and try to tell you what it might mean. But we think the best way to understand this book is to look at the book as a whole and show you how the whole thing is designed.
My name is Jesse McBarrow, and you are looking at Mending Minds. Tell us your Mending Mind moment.
I will say set goals.
A lot of people get so caught up in the what, they forget the why. There's this fixation of this is what I'm going to do, and they forget why you pursue that in the first place.
Welcome back, guys, and the hot topic right now is that big crash in social media we had yesterday. And what we want to chat about for a while is responsibility. So for instance, I remember I had a conversation a couple of years ago with a couple of people about responsibility of these social media sites in the workplace, because it's a big distraction in terms of productivity with people scrolling and these kind of things. And our conversation led then to maybe that they would have some kind of responsibility for this, where they have to provide data to organizations about how much their employees scroll and if they're spending time productively or not. And do you think the shape of social media could become that in the next 5 years, where their role is more than just what we know it as now, but they provide data to organizations about our usage in the workplace?
But doesn't
and how that affects our productivity?
I believe it already does that. right? Because, for example, when you have the people who work at home, there are people who have to log in and log out, and they tell you the viewing time and stuff like that. I think it already does that. It's just a lot of people don't really look at it at that aspect. You know?
I mean, from a point of view of people actually doing, thinking about it like in the workplace, some people actually go to work with the problems they already woke up with.
Yeah.
I mean, and that is the problem itself. And because, I mean, a lot of people are not rooted and grounded as well to leave that by the door before they walk into a business place. A lot of people carry their home problems and take it out on a co-worker. And to be honest, the worst thing about that is that they're not aware of it. And you could only fix a problem if you're aware of it. So we need to start by the awareness.
With regards to companies, so you're referring to the social media companies and the providing?
Any company, because remember, at the end of the day, we have a problem. It's seen in the industry where people go off and they start to scroll, or they're messaging, or they're posting during company time. And I think it will evolve to some kind of place soon, where it is these companies will provide data to employers to manage that so that they can increase productivity, because we know a big part of everything, especially in these larger corporations, is the bottom line. And they're into-managing that bottom line. So can you see that happening?
Okay, so let's go back a little bit. Right, now we know that people need technology to operate.
Correct.
Right? Now we have this, ever since the onset of COVID, we have persons who now work in a hybrid environment.
Correct.
So persons are working from home and they're also working from the office and physically, and then you have those who work completely from home, and then you have those who completely work in space at the office, right? Now, it also depends on the level, the entry, if you're entry level, mid level, senior level, whatever. You know, senior managers might be more wary about spending time on social media. It might be more entry level or junior level employees who are taking the time and going through their phones, because they might be the more social ones, right? Yes, I agree that it can decrease productivity. Whether a company is able to track that, that's a lot of information, right? And that's a particular technology that we don't know if it can be developed right now, unless it's the social media companies themselves who are providing that service, right? But remember, they want to encourage people to use their platform. So why would they want to give us information to make people scroll less? You know?
And that's the part of the conversation for me in terms of their responsibility. Because if it is you have productivity on a national level being decreased, and we start to do research into these things, and you could say, okay, in Trinidad and Tobago, because of the effect of scrolling on Facebook or spending time on IG, the productivity of the country has come down by X%. Then now ownership and responsibility comes to the company, the social media companies, to provide data to help minimize that, to help fix it. Think about it. How much times you go to a government office in Trinidad,
right,
and you know you want to get something and you've seen them,
sure,
or type in a message while it is you try to talk to them.
All right, okay, but who do we look forward to solve these problems? Is it the managers? Is it the owners of these same set social media companies, the supervisors? Because I mean, we have to look at data management as well. How much the content and the time to do these things, because I mean we always count money by time, right? Because time is always converted into money converted into time. So if we don't have the managers and the authorities dealing with managing these workers, we'll continue to scroll.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I could see one of the responsibilities of companies like Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, to start to provide data and information about these kind of things to large corporations and countries.
Actually, I don't even think that somebody needs that type of information from those companies, because there are ways that your IT department can track online activity.
Yeah, well, that would be would be if it is logged into their servers, right? But then too, you also have to ask yourself this question, right? By Facebook, and
all right, guys, we're going to a break. We're going to come back in just a couple seconds. I think something went on. He just stopped.
My name is Jesse McBarrow, and you are looking at Mending Minds. Tell us your Mending Mind moments.
I will say set goals.
A lot of people get so caught up in the what, they forget the why. There's this fixation of this is what I'm going to do, and they forget why you pursue that in the first place.
I said, look, I cannot help how I feel. Out of all of us, I'm the only one who isn't married, engaged, or has a child. Besides, keep sticking that. I've been real cover watching this while I meet you know.
Like I could use all the help, Smalley.
No, I could.
I could see that. But we all could use all the help.
First book in the Bible is a book you've probably heard of. It's called Genesis.
Genesis comes from a Hebrew word. It's pronounced reshit, and it just means beginning.
Now, there's a lot of stories from the book of Genesis, and it's easy just to pull out a specific story and try to tell you what it might mean. But we think the best way to understand this book is to look at the book as a whole and show you how the whole thing is designed.
This is another episode of Life Matters, and I am your host, Latina Mata. Give us some insight into what is Miss Earth and what is so special about this pageant.
Okay, so like many pageants, there are a purpose behind the crown. So Miss Earth in particular, it's all about the awareness of the environment, and I'm basically an ambassador informing everyone to take care of their environment and their surroundings.
Take this moment, guys, to advocate the importance of mental health awareness, ensuring that this is something that is started to be placed in schools, in the school curriculums. Yes. Why aren't we having easy therapy access to schools, to parents, to the children? You know, that is something that we need to get some hands written about, right?
Welcome back, and we're discussing social media, all these companies like Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and the budding thing that they need to have a responsibility. But how they should have that responsibility, we're not exactly sure yet. But guys, do you think we could live without social media in today's world? Do you mean we could go back to a place without Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, WhatsApp?
Yes, I think Ruby and I could chat from the string there. Do you think? We could talk. I mean, we gotta prepare for it. I mean, it could be hard at first. Let's be real. I mean, we're here now. We need to do some deep introspecting as human beings. This is what we love. We love to be on the phone talking to a friend in China. Yeah. We want to know that when Ruby gets some big award in Bahamas, she could call
validation.
Us and say, that is technology, right? But if we don't have these things, I mean, it could be a long time. We had to wait days before she take a plane to come back here to celebrate that. So technology, it fasten up time. Just like plane, before plane boat. So they cut down the amount of hours to travel from Tobago to Trinidad by just 15 minutes. you could just reach across. So that is technology.
Social media has made the world a lot closer. But imagine a world without the social media. I think there would be hundreds of thousands of suicides because people will no longer be able to get what they need out of social media.
A lot of people use that space for validation. And, you know,
Exactly.
people have certain lifestyles that they look to maintain a particular image. They also use it as a form of marketing themselves, you know, regardless of whatever field they may be in. It works as a marketing tool for everyone.
I think we'll go back into a more stagnant phase until we could find another way of how to cope. Or how to deal. So it will really set us back, but it also create a new beginning.
Yeah, because a world without social media would be a world without a lot of people's coping mechanism for mental health.
Exactly.
And we know that mental health is a big topic. So guys, on that topic, we have a guest coming in. Her name is Stacey Ford. She is the HR manager at KCL Capital Market Brokers Limited with 11 years steeped experience in HR. Welcome, Stacey. How are you doing this evening?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well this afternoon.
All right, give us 1 second, Stacey. We just have a little technical issue in terms of the audio. We're going to sort that out now. We're going to welcome you once again. So in the meantime, guys, we have to start to think about that. A world without social media. What will be the mental health fallout of that?
I think there'll be a lot of suicides.
Yeah.
Right? Because like Ruby said, there are a lot of people who use social media for validation.
Yeah.
Right? There's also a lot of people who for social income is doing these videos, these little stuff.
Yes.
Exactly. You know, and if you remove
the internet rampant 20 and let's be honest, internet only here about, let's say, about 20 years ago.
We grew up
before we were pitching marbles, playing dolly house and climbing. Actually, nature would love that because
possibly. But let's hear the perspective of Stacey. I think we have Stacey back here now. Stacey, welcome to Sunset on Plus. How are you doing this evening?
I'm well, and thank you for having me this afternoon. Looking forward to the program.
No problem. So, Stacey, we have a man who is really passionate about mental health, Jevon here. So I'm going to let Jevon lead off the questioning this evening on our topic of mental health.
Good afternoon, Stacey. How are you this evening?
Hi, guys.
All right. So, Stacey, you're in HR and you've been in HR for a couple of years, right? So briefly explain, what role does HR play in supporting mental health for employees in the workplace?
Well, basically, HR is, I would sum it up as it's important for us as a professional to create an environment that encourages open communication. Having that open communication culture will encourage employees to speak up, to express their displeasure or their stresses, to be able to initiate conversations with regarding to their mental health and where it's at at the given point in time, and just build trust and rapport and that kind of stuff between the employer and the employee. One of the other aspects that we use to support mental health is training and development. So this speaks to as wellness, just mindset, overall mindset, and how to manage your time, your life, your space, your stress, whatever you have going on in the home. Another way that we support mental health in the workplace is also policy writing. A simple thing such as writing a policy that creates a flexible working environment where, let's say, persons have flexi time, persons are able to leave at 2 or 3 or whatever time they need to pick up their kids from school. Those things also help with mental health. Apart from that, creating policies such as diversity and inclusion policies, where persons are not discriminated against. I don't want to use the term minorities, but persons in smaller sectors or smaller groups are not discriminated against, and they feel open to bring, certain aspects of themselves to work that make them feel comfortable. And then finally, I would say that it's our role is also one of providing services. HR cannot, we are not trained in assisting persons with mental health problems on a medical level. However, we can provide support by way of the EAP, or what we call Employee Assistance Program, as well as family planning. So we can direct employees to, these resources that are free. Well, the EAP may be free in some companies. At KCL Capital Market Brokers, the EAP service is free. And I know in a few other companies it's free as well. But family planning is also under the government, and that is free, so that we encourage persons to seek, to venture to those opportunities and seek those services where required.
Stacey, let me ask you, in terms of the employment industry right now, what would you say, especially in your area, what would you say, based on your experience, is one of the big, or two or three of the big mental health issues that people are facing today?
I would say poor wages, poor pay, yeah, because poor pay can cause persons to not want to come to work. They can feel stressed, especially having to take care of families, and your salary is not able to do the extra, or it's just able to just cover your basic bills and your basic utilities. That is one of the major issues that we face in Trinidad and Tobago, as well as job insecurity, I would say. We just came out of COVID. During COVID, it would have been worse. So things are now, the economy is now on the rise. It's now repairing, I would say. But we're still in a recession, if I understand correctly. So that also leads to some level of persons coming to work and still not feeling sure if, am I going to get salary next month? Am I going to be employed next month? So those are two of the major issues. Apart from, I just want to add to that. I know you asked for two, but just to add to that, I would speak about just overall family stress in coping with kids who are not, they're not doing their schoolwork, they're not taking in their education, they're giving trouble at school, all of these different things, spouses and marital relations that are just not working out because maybe for the same reasons, one party was employed and became unemployed, the other is and has to hold down the household. So,
And as an HR person, talking about the industry, do you think that's your role to intervene in that to help with that? Yes, the job security and these poor wages definitely falls on your plate. But do you think that the at-home thing, what goes on in your personal life, how much children you have, if it is your spouse who is not employed with the same company, loses their job, is that part of your concern and something you need to tend to with your employees, and why?
It becomes a part of our concern as HR managers when the employee decides to confide in us and share that information and be open and honest with us about their private, their personal home situation. So if that, as long as that information comes to the fore, as HR, we take the lead and we try to find solutions. Sometimes, like I said, we may not always have all the right words to say or the right solutions that could help in the time being, but what we would do is direct persons to the employee assistance programs. There are a couple companies that do provide that service. Elder Associates is a popular one. Not putting in a plug for them necessarily, but that's what we use at KCL. And we would direct employees to that organization so that they can air their grievances and their problems, and maybe even take along the spouse or take along the child that requires the help. At our expense, of course.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, this is Jermaine here. So,
hi, Jermaine.
My question is coping mechanism. As HR personnel, do you all have the capacity to help these people in whatever way, whatever situation they are in? Do you all hold that capacity and responsibility?
I would say partially, because when it comes to things like flexible working arrangements, we do have the ability to decide, if we're going to give somebody flexi time, someone that may have, let's say, some type of issue at home, getting their kids ready on time for school. They may not have transport. They may live in a very remote area, and getting out of that area is becomes a safety concern because you may have to leave at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and you're trying to get in for 7 or 8. So in terms of providing that flexi time, that's just one of the examples or one of the things that we have control over as HR. Off the top of my head, I would say, along with that, maybe creating that open space where persons are able to focus on things like meditation, yoga, provide programs that encourage employee engagement in those respects, in those aspects. Fitness, some companies have a gym or they may pay for employees' gym subscription, or they, encourage employees to seek physical ways to relieve their mental health so that we have some control. The portion thereof that we do not have, that is where I guess conversations and discussions would come in, where we would encourage persons to take time for themselves, seek professional assistance in terms of speaking to a counselor, a spiritual leader, these kinds of things.
So you mentioned yoga, meditation. I agree with all those things as coping mechanism, things for they to try. My other question that ties into the one that I asked you is, I like to let me just bridge a scenario. Let's just say your key man, right? He's your main person in your department, but that person is also experiencing domestic abuse at home. I think the mental breakdown to that is significant, to be honest. That is something someone might not be able to cope with while working, but the rent had to pay, my kids had to eat, stuff like this still have to go on. So how do you deal with someone like that, but that is your main guy?
So in that case, one of the important things about using that employee assistance program is that we cannot legally force anyone to use that program to seek help for themselves or their families or their spouse. However, we can encourage, persons to do that. And if it's your key person, you want to invest in that person's mental health and go the distance and go as far as you can, given the information that they choose to share, given the legal guidelines that exist within Trinidad and Tobago Industrial Relations Act, etc., in treating with employees with different issues. But you want to invest in that person because that is your key person and you want to ensure that he can deliver, he can produce. And most times, if that's your key person, he has other persons underneath him. It's probably in some type of a leadership role. So that you want to encourage that person to seek, that employee assistance program, or you want to probably, even as an HR manager, you want to have those discussions with the person and find out what they think might be some of the ways that they need that help, or we can seek that help for them. So whether it's a hotline, maybe making a call, or maybe bringing in someone, an expert, to speak about, domestic violence, abuse in a general capacity, so that it doesn't seem as though it's targeted.
Well, given that is said, expect a resume from me.
Yes, I do have a question. Hi, Stacy. My name is Ruby. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat with us this evening. So my question is, I know we spoke about coping mechanisms and what type of programs you all have in place and all of that. But let's go back a little bit. And how do you know, what are some of the indicators that a person might be experiencing some sort of mental issue or having some sort of awareness issue? Sorry, not awareness, but what are some of the indicators that you look for in an employee within the corporate circle?
All right, so I'll start with the ones that are easy to point out as a leader. Excessiveness in employee behavior, employee patterns. So that employee who consistently works late every single day, and this is not late within reason, this is ridiculously late. So this employee leaves, let's say at 10, 11 o'clock every day. The company closes off at 5 or at 4. Business ends, and this employee is every day staying there at 10 and 11 o'clock in the night, and then they're leaving to go home. That is a sign that there may be some reason why you're avoiding going home, on an afternoon or within that particular time frame. And that is a signal that, maybe a conversation needs to be had. The opposite as well. where person that you have an employee who is regularly absent. You're absent in an entire work week. You may come to work one day. There may be consistent weeks. So you're looking for consistencies in the patterns of the employee, the behavioral patterns. So if that person is consistently absent, that's a red flag. A conversation needs to be had there. Why, I noticed that you've been absent last week, 4 days out of the 5 days. Last month, you had a total of, I don't know, 12 absent days. And it's usually, let's say, you want to look for patterns, as I said. So usually you're always absent on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you show up on a Friday. Those things are signals. So you want to have, let's say, an easy discussion at first. You don't want to go in too harsh, but you want to just find out, the reason for the absence. And is it that there's, problems transport, problems getting to and from work, or is it a situation where, it's a financial situation? In terms of after you've received your wages, it's kind of difficult to have money or set aside money to get to and from work. One of the other, I would say maybe high level ways to spot possible mental health issues is also someone who falls back in their performance, and it's a significant drop in the performance. So that you used to be the star player, the key guy in the team, and all of a sudden you're at bottom level. You're not pulling through, you're not pulling your weight as well in the team. The other team members are complaining about you, whether it be your absence, your attitude, whatever it is. And you want to have that discussion as well. So those are some of the red flags that we look at. That's just to name a few, because there are so many.
All right, thank you so much.
Stacey, I'd like to ask a question. Let's go back to what is the program you say that you will provide to employees for that counseling?
This is the Employee Assistance Program, or EAP program.
Okay, what protection does this program provides for employees? For example, I'm going through a mental issue and I don't want my employers or my co-workers, my peers to find out what are my personal issues. What form of protection does this program provide to me if I do decide to use it?
So that EAP program is fully confidential. Nothing that is, everything I should say that is discussed there is not shared with the HR manager, the HR officer, the HR assistant. Nobody in the company, CEO, nobody. That information is solely between the employee and the counselor at that given point in time, or psychologist or psychiatrist, as the case may be. Nothing is shared at all. What HR would get on a monthly basis is actually just the bill saying, 3 employees spent a total of 4 hours each, or 2 hours, or 1 hour each in counseling, and this is the cost that we have to approve and pay for. So the only case, or the only time where information would be shared with an employer would be in a case where there's an agreement that is mentioned, or a discussion is had with the employee, and it goes in writing legally that because you have these performance issues and we have tried everything under the sun to get you to improve your performance, this is our last resort. As a result of this, we suspect that there may be some type of a deeper issue, and in us trying to help you and to bring you up and to not have to sever the employment relationship, we would need to get a full report, of what is going on in terms of that, whatever the home situation or whatever the issue is. And the employee would have to consent to that. So as long as that employee signs off and says, yes, okay, no problem, I realize this is the last resort, and I realize this is putting strain on the organization to that extent, I am okay with the EAP provider sharing that information with you, then we go ahead. But other than that, no information is shared. It's strictly confidential.
Stacey, we really want to take the time to really thank you for coming and joining us here this evening. You have shared such a valuable and deep amount of information. But if you had to give like a 1 or 2 lines in terms of a nugget of advice based on your experience to persons with mental health issues at different levels, what would that be?
I would definitely say honesty and communication is key. You want to be as honest as possible, because this is not the employee being honest is not necessarily helping the organization, but it starts with helping yourself and acknowledging, there is a problem. It's a problem that's affecting me at work and it's going to spill over, and I need to say something to someone. If I can't say it to my direct manager, which a lot of the times that's the case, I'm going to say it to HR. I need to say something to HR. So I would definitely say honesty. And I would also say it's important to prioritize yourself before anything else. Work is always going to be available at some point, in our careers for everyone. Even though it may not be in your field or whatever you desire, but working in an environment that supports your mental health is key, because taking care of yourself is the first step, but having that support around you is really what would really, bring you to a better place and make you feel comfortable where you work and enthusiastic about work and perform well and all of these different things.
Stacey, once again, we really, on behalf of all of us here at the Plus Sunset, we want to thank you deeply for taking the time to come and share all that valuable information with us. And with that, guys, we're going to take a short break and come back to you in just a couple.
Thank you.
You what it might mean, but we think the best way to understand this book is to look at the book as a whole and show you how the whole thing is designed.
This is another episode of Life Matters, and I am your host, Latina Mata. Give us some insight into what is Miss Earth and what is so special about this pageant.
Okay, so like many pageants, there are a purpose behind the crown. So Miss Earth in particular, it's all about the awareness of the environment, and I'm basically an ambassador informing everyone to take care of their environment and their surroundings.
Take this moment, guys, to advocate the importance of mental health awareness, ensuring that this is something that is started to be placed in schools, in these school curriculums.
Yes.
Why aren't we having easy therapy access to schools, to parents, to the children? That is something that we need to get some hands written about, right?
My name is Jesse McBarrow, and you are looking at Mending Minds. Tell us your Mending Mind moments.
I will say set goals.
A lot of people get so caught up in the what, they forget the why. There's this fixation of this is what I'm going to do, and they forget why. Yeah. You pursue that in the first place.
I said, look, I cannot help how I feel. Out of all of us, I'm the only one who isn't married, engaged, or has a child. Besides, keep sticking that. I've been real cover watching this while I meet you know.
Like I could use all the help, Smalley. I could see that. But we all could use our help.
And we're back, guys, and the topic we're exploring right now is mental health, especially mental health in the workplace. And we want to say thanks again to Stacey Ford, who just joined us, and she gave us a really good nugget to end off there. And that nugget was being honest. Being honest. I think that's a big problem, especially for men when it comes to the mental health dynamic. Being honest. And what was the next point she made? Honesty and one other thing. Communication.
And prioritizing yourself.
Yeah. 3 key things. Honesty, communication, and prioritizing yourself. Because mental health is a big issue.
Exactly.
We know that.
Absolutely.
And in the workplace, it's even worse. And for ourselves, as well as the productivity of the corporations, it's something that people need to look at and create environments where people can come and be honest. What do you think, Jevon?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, this is heard all wrong. Work will always be there. I mean, you're going to sacrifice yourself, you're going to sacrifice your mental health, your physical health, and for a job that today or tomorrow, you're not dead, you're going to be replaced in less than 3 days.
So how do you prioritize yourself?
Myself?
Yeah.
Well, I work within my hours.
Right.
Right. When I'm finished work, I'm finished work. I have my personal ways of diffusing, or what I would say relaxing, or getting my mental in that frame to transition from work to home, because this is another important thing, learning how to transition from work environment to home environment, because if you don't know how to do that, you can actually carry that work stress home into and transition it onto your spouse or your children.
So you have to compartmentalize essentially.
Yes.
What about you guys, Ruby? How do you prioritize yourself and find that work-home balance?
Yeah. So before I go into that, I just wanted to talk about the EAP program that Stacey would have mentioned. I actually think that's a really good program. I myself personally have used the EAP program. I had a loss in the family at the time, and I utilized the service at my workplace, and I think that it's a great tool, or it's a great space for persons, and it is confidential, for persons to kind of let things out and on a professional space. And the counselors that I dealt with at the time as well, they also handle and give me positive feedback, and so it was beneficial to level where in terms of balancing work and life. Now I have a very hectic schedule, so I work a full-time job and then I have a business on the side, so it could be difficult to find that time, but I prioritize, and I do the same thing, which is compartmentalize. So like I would not take myself for granted. I mean, there was a period of time I might have done that, just keep, because I had school as well. I was juggling school, juggling work, juggling a business. It's a lot, So one thing I used to do a lot is make sure I take my vacation time. I would travel, go into a different environment, something that helps me to kind of bring clarity to my mind, And when I am off the clock, I use that time to do things that I want to do, with things that I know will make me feel good or make me feel better, and that's really what
Jermaine, what about you?
I would piggyback on prioritizing yourself. I think apart from being honest and having to communicate, we know you have to be honest if you want people to help you. We know you have to be transparent if you want to be helped, because transparency is clarity, right? And the more clear you could be, is the more Ruby could help you. So when I say prioritizing yourself, nature helps. Nature is a big diffuser of negative elements built up between you. So I would personally go into nature, go on a hike, go to a river, go to a sea, and diffuse myself completely from the world. Another thing is, to be honest, eating fruits.
Yeah.
Fruits really diffuses you mentally, not only physically. I want to put that out there. A lot of fruits and water. And to be honest, rainwater helps as well.
Okay.
A lot of rainwater helps. So eating correct plays a part in prioritizing yourself and doing the things you love to do. There's a difference between doing something you want to do and doing something you love to do. Because you could be paid by doing the things you really love to do, you know.
Yeah.
And if you do the thing, if you get paid for doing the things you love to do, you wouldn't feel as if you're working at all. So I want to tell everybody, you know, enjoy what you do. Wake up every day, show up to do what you love to do. If you're doing what you don't love to do, then it will feel dragged, stagnant, and stressful for you each and every day of your miserable life.
Yeah, but that's not always the ideal situation, sadly. There are a lot of people who have to function with jobs that they don't like. But I like a common theme that came out of all three of you, and it was that separation from the workplace.
Yes.
For Ruby, it's travel. For you, it's nature. Jevon just has to understand the difference between home and work and compartmentalize that. And I think that's a good ending note here for us this evening.
Even
in
to
terms
add
of
to that,
mental health.
I just want to add to that as well, right? Spending time with your loved ones is also a great way to kind of compartmentalize,
Yeah, because
as well.
that quality time in itself releases endorphins and good hormones that you need to help you diffuse, like you spoke about. So on our ending note, guys, make sure that you prioritize your mental health and you make sure that you're honest. On top of that, make sure that you communicate that honesty. And the big note here is separate. Understand that when you leave that workplace, when you exit that door, work is done until the next day. And during that period, you have to have little and during the year big activities to ensure that you can separate and bring back yourself to who you are. Eat well, as he said. Make sure and understand home is home. Spend time with family. Travel if you could. And get all the things you need to secure your mental health. So guys, that's it for us at Plus Sunset Evening Show. Remember, we're here every day, Monday to Friday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. You will see the replay at 11 p.m. nightly and 12 midday each day. This is where all the topics are. So, see you next time.
This is another episode of Life Matters, and I am your host, Latina Mata. Give us some insight into what is Miss Earth and what is so special about this pageant.
Okay, so like many pageants,